As we continue the episodes relative to the appearance of man in the fossil record, we now turn our attention to the Nebraska man. In 1922, America's leading paleoanthropologist, Dr. Henry Fairfield Osborn of the American Museum of Natural History, announced to the academic world that geologist Harold Cook had made a major discovery excavating in a gravel bed in western Nebraska. He had found a tooth. Now remember, a single tooth. And in our illustrations, what is in white is what was actually discovered. He had found a tooth, an incredible tooth. Now the tooth had the profile of a molar of an ape, yet it had the profile suggesting the molar of a human being. It really had characteristics of both. So here we have a new name, a new genus suggested, Hesperopithecus haroldcookii. And the illustration is given of a profile walking fully upright, short arms, long legs, indicative of being relatively human in stature, quite hairy, but really the leading Western Hemisphere evidence suggesting that man developed from a lower life form. In fact, that same year in June 1922, the London Illustrated News ran a special Sunday edition with a sketch, all from a single tooth, with a sketch of an adult Hesperopithecus haroldcookii. Had a club, he was a bit stooped over and a bit hairy, but obviously pre-human. Nearby was his bride, or the lady, pulling up grubs. Nearby was the offspring, a child. In the background was a fence that had been erected by Hesperopithecus haroldcookii, the Nebraska man, the man that had developed from apes. He had built a fence. He had domesticated horses, camels, and other forms, all of that evidence from a single tooth. In 1925, in the famous Scopes evolution trial in Dayton, Tennessee, Clarence Darrow, the atheistic attorney for the evolutionary side, used that tooth by suggestion. He wouldn't show it to William Jennings Bryan, the champion for creation, but he said, here it is, explain it. Bryan said, well, I haven't studied it, haven't seen it. Well, explain it. You must explain it, because here we have the best evidence in the Western Hemisphere showing that man developed from an ape-like creature. So you're going to have to answer this. Ultimately, it was that tooth that got evolution into the public school system in the United States, and the evolutionary profile worldwide followed. But in 1927, Harold Cook, the geologist, went back to his excavation site, found the rest of the skeleton, the complete jaw minus one tooth, the head, the vertebrae, the appendages, the whole skeleton. Now tell me, was it an ape developing to a man, or was it a human being with some of the reflections of physical characteristics of lower primates and of apes? Neither. He found the full skeletal remains, and it was peccary, a pig. That's astounding. An extinct pig was literally the best evidence in the Western Hemisphere suggesting that man had developed from a lower life form. A pig, not even related. And then in 1972, a herd of these pigs have been found in Paraguay, Prosthenops. Do you realize that a single tooth, having nothing to do with the apes, the simians, having nothing to do with man, but a pig's tooth, actually got evolution introduced into the public profile of the educational system? Some decades ago, I made special arrangements, and we were able to acquire one of the teeth of the Nebraska man. Not the original tooth, but a tooth from the same jaw. This came from the original Nebraska man. If you look closely, you'll see that it does resemble the molar of an ape, but it also has a general profile of the molar of a human being. What this states is, throughout the created kinds, there are mosaics. There are forms that work. This has nothing to do with evolution. It has everything to do with deception and delusion. Nebraska man has to be crossed off along with Ramapithecus, along with Lucy, along with the Tang child. We have no evidence supporting a base to catapult simians, lower life forms, into human profile. Man remains man, made in the image of God.